Is Severance a good show? Well, my friends, recently a bunch of high-profile personalities have been making videos dedicated to just saying how good this show is. And I'm seeing these posts on social media from high-profile individuals saying, Severance is the best show, you gotta watch it. And I was really surprised. See, not that long ago, a little while ago, a buddy of mine says, have you seen Severance? And I was like, I heard of it. It's like the Apple TV show, right? Yeah, it's so good. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, I love it. I said, okay, I'll watch it. You know, when Game of Thrones was out, I didn't start watching until the beginning of season 4. Because I was like, I don't care. You can come to me and tell me how good your shows are. I don't watch them. And then, oh boy, I binged every episode of Game of Thrones. But how did that fall off? Yikes. I'm going to tell you right from the get-go, I do not like this show, Severance, but it's not a bad show. It's more of like a C-. Like, you know, if I'm going to get a grade, meaning I can turn it on in the background and I'm interested in some of the plot points and I'm skipping ahead quite a bit because I like the idea and I do want to know where the story goes, but it's just, in my opinion, poorly executed. So why is everybody just coming out talking about how good this show is right now? Well, it's annoying to me. Anyway, where was I? So my friend says, go watch the show. I turn it on. Yo, in the first episode, he's running through a hallway for a whole minute. And they were like, but we wanted to show you the vast expanse. No, off. Click. So I turn it on, and I'm watching with my wife, and it gets to the point where he's running through the hallway, and we're both on our phones. And we're like, should we put on something else? Because as soon as we're picking up our phones and not paying attention anymore, we're just like, the show has lost us. Now, here's the thing. I'm getting all these people like, the TikTok generation has ruined you, Tim. You're just got to scroll brain rot. Nice try. I don't use TikTok. Not only that, we watch movies all the time where we don't sit there glued to our phones. We watch a bunch of TV shows. Yellowstone was awesome. Game of Thrones, early was awesome. I watched Invincible. Glued to the screen. I love Invincible. I know it's superhero stuff, but it is gruesome. And what other shows do we have going on right now? We've got the new season of 1923, I think it is. Need to pick that one up. And what other shows we watch? I can barely remember. I don't know. Tulsa King, glued to the TV. Watch that thing straight through. The problem I have with Severance is it seems that they pad the episodes and it's boring. But I got to be honest, it's also semi-mystery box TV. Okay? Now, hold on. What am I basically saying here? I know there are a bunch of Severance fans out there that are watching being like, you don't know good TV, Tim. Bro, I watched the first season because I tried watching the first episode and then like 30% of the way in, I was like, I'm turning this off. Then after I see all these posts from high-profile people talking about how it's the best show ever, I was like, maybe I just got to get past this first episode. And so I watched the second episode. I'm like, maybe I just got to get past the second episode. And then by the third episode, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it on in the background and I'll set up my phone on X and I'll pay attention when I need to pay attention. But it's so slow. I'm like, skip. Okay. It's one of these mystery box shows, they call it, like Lost or From. Not nearly as bad, though. They do answer some questions because that was smart on Ben Stiller's part. Do a mystery box, but solve a little bit more. But it's not enough. It feels like ripping the Band-Aid off as slowly as possible, and then they just stop and put it back on, and you're like, no, please, just make it stop. And for me, it's frustrating. I like stories that progress, the plot advances, and we figure out what's going on. Yo, come on, guys. In season 1, they find a room full of goats, and there's a guy like, they're not ready yet. And it's like, yeah, we get it. Mystery box, garbage, nonsense. Anyway. How is Apple losing $1 billion every year on a show that is supposedly so good? And why did everybody all of a sudden start posting at the exact same time how good this show is? Okay. So for those that don't know, Severance is a show that came out in 2022. And I'm going to tell you, though I don't know if I'm 100% sure about this, it certainly does feel like some people are being paid to make videos and social media posts claiming Severance is a good show. So I sit down with my buddy the other day. I'm like, let's see if we can watch season 2. I'm watching season 2 now. And he's just like, people like this show? And I'm like, bro, I guess. And he's like, but it's like they keep you waiting and it's like, hurry up and wait. Like nothing happens. Nothing's happening. We don't know what the company does. It's been 2 seasons. They've not advanced the plot in any meaningful way. Okay, we figured out that his wife was alive at the end of season 1, and that's all you get. It's painful. In order to advance the plot, they seem to be struggling with this concept. So at the beginning of season 2, of course, largely makes no sense. They have a brief other team, whatever. I've only watched a little bit of the second season because it's too painful to watch. I decided I'd watch it because of everyone making these comments about it. I want to know exactly what the show's about. And well, like I said, it's a C-. It's I wouldn't call it bad, but I'll tell you this: when you turn it on, you're going to be zoning out half the time, and you're going to be tuning in half the time. Not to mention, I'm getting all these conservatives and people on the right being like, Tim, you wouldn't know good TV. Oh, I wouldn't. I don't know. What's your favorite part of the show? The 2 elderly gay men as a major plot point who are making out. And then these woke leftists are like, what's the matter, Tim? You don't like watching dudes make out? What does it say about you? And I'm like, bro, they don't even have men and women making out in the show. Like, why would I want to watch a show about 2 elderly gay guys? Literally a major plot point in the show is an old gay guy who's trying to track down his lost boyfriend. Okay. I'm frustrated with the wokeness. Okay. I don't want to watch a show where the major plot point is a guy trying to hunt down his missing wife. Like, at least that somewhat makes sense. The main character's wife is supposedly dead, and he finds that she's alive. I'm like, mystery time. Okay. But then they introduce one of the major plots that Christopher Walken is gay, and one of the main guys in the office is gay. And when you go to work, you're of a different personality, a different brain, and I'm just like, why are these conservatives coming out and claiming a show which a major plot point, at least a quarter of the story, the motivation for one of the main characters is that he's trying to find his lost boyfriend? And I'm like, conservatives are cheering this on? Right-wing personalities cheering this on? Okay, now I'm ranting, but let me show you this. We got Fortune. Apple's reportedly willing to lose $1 billion every year just to fuel its streaming ambitions. Well, good for them. Take a look at this from Euronews. They asked the question: despite huge investment in award-winning shows, Apple TV is still struggling to make a mark, reportedly losing up to €1 billion a year. It's Euronews. They're converting from dollars to euros. 2 sources close to the company confirmed to the information that the tech firm has spent $5 billion a year on Apple TV since it launched in 2019. Apple's huge investment into the video streaming market hasn't reaped a similarly sized subscriber base. Despite shows like Severance and Ted Lasso, it lags significantly behind competitors Netflix, Amazon, and Disney+. To be honest, I'm watching this on Amazon because I don't have Apple TV. Although Apple hasn't officially revealed its subscriber count, as it doesn't release it as an individual stat, the information reports it at a lowly 45 million subscribers. 45 million is a massive number. And what is it, $10 a month? Are you kidding me? That's a lot of money. However, apparently they're losing billions. It's not, they say, given Apple's one of the biggest companies, blah, 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 it's not like they haven't heaped piles of cash on impressive shows. Chiefly, there's Severance, the dark sci-fi series about office workers with split consciousness, was nominated for 14 Emmys after its first season in 2022. The Ben Stiller-produced show returned to the screens this year and has immediately been in contention for the prestige TV gongs alongside White Lotus and Adolescence. Similarly, Apple has had other hit shows like Ted Lasso, blah, blah, blah. They say, here's the problem. A major part of the problem is the lack of social cachet Apple TV seemingly has. Major stars sign up for expensive projects just for them to be dumped on the service without enough hype for it to drum up the kind of publicity that is innate to an HBO release. Water cooler television is a term in the industry to describe kinds of shows that would leave such a widespread cultural impression, it would inevitably become the topic of conversation in offices around the world the next morning. Classic examples would be Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Succession. Here's the problem. Severance doesn't have anything to talk about. There is nothing to talk about. Severance is a show where it mystery boxes. You know what that is? Lost or From, where it's like, give you an example from season 1. They're walking down the halls and they open a door and there's a man holding goats and the goats are all yelling and they're like, what? And then they run back. And it's like, what was that? Nothing. It's fake. It's literal nothing. These shows, like I'm watching From, I can't stand this show. And it's like, there was a music, he's in a room and then he looks down at a music box and then it like zooms in on the box and he's like shaking and swinging like, a music box? And then the episode's over and they never explain it because it was nothing. That is what these shows are. The shows are quite literally show you random nonsense so you come back next week, but they don't have answers for you because if they introduce that, it would alter the story in a fundamental way, which makes it more difficult to introduce mystery elements. The goal of these shows is to advance teeny bits. The characters do things, but nothing's ever resolved. So at the end of season 1, the work consciousness, I'm assuming the people watching this have seen it. If you haven't, they find a way to temporarily escape to the real world through something called overtime contingency. And then it's like, what's going to happen? Nothing happens. The season ends with them escaping and there's frantic panic. Nothing happens. Nothing. Season 2 starts. There's a significant plot development for the first time in the whole show. And that is that the world has changed because of what happened. Begin season 2, the exact same garbage. They waste your time. They barely explain things. Characters barely advance. You don't know why things are the way they are. They never tell you why they're the way they are. I digress. The show doesn't have anything for which in the morning you can say, bro, did you see the Khaleesi come out of the fire when she knocked that fire over and roasted Khal Drogo and everybody died? Game of Thrones was literally nothing but I can't believe the plot did that. The Red Wedding. It's like, those were main characters. They're all dead. Everybody the next day was like, bro, did you watch? That was crazy. What are they going to do next? They literally took those characters out. Severance is like, yo, a guy saw a goat. The next episode, what happened to that goat? I don't know. I guess nobody's moved by it. Sorry. So here's what I think. We know for a fact the problem with the show is water cooler television. The show may be entertaining to many people. I'm not saying it's the worst show ever made. I'm just saying it certainly ain't Game of Thrones, at least up to season 5, whatever. It's not one of these big, massive shows like Sopranos that has people wired in. I mean, Westworld season 1, everybody thought that was the next Game of Thrones, and then season 2 kind of fell off. Brutal. I think it was the ending of season 1. And this is what scares people, like the people who make Severance. At the end of Westworld season 1, you go from this show where there's a mystery, where the man in black is trying to figure out what's going on, and he scalps the robot, and there's a pattern. What could it mean? And they don't tell you. But then all of a sudden the robots revolt and kill a bunch of people and escape. And you're like, that kind of killed what the story was. Now it's all over the place. And people liked watching a show where you were in this fantasy world. I think this is the lesson that Severance took from Westworld. In Westworld, you're on this mysterious island. You don't know where it is. Somewhere like, is it another planet? Is it a foreign country? Is it the future? Or like how far in the future? Are they in virtual reality? We don't know. When they decided to actually advance the plot and answer those questions, people stopped watching. So for Severance, it seems like the people making the show are thinking, look, everybody is glued to this idea of like, what is this company? What's it do? We can never tell them. You will never find out because that's the only reason they want to watch. So it's kind of like, perhaps you could write a good show that advances the plot of the universe in a meaningful way that doesn't ruin the elements. Westworld could do this. Severance could do this. They just lack the ability, I guess. They stumble upon a mini hit and then panic. So what do you get? No water cooler television. Along comes many personalities, which, to be honest, perhaps these personalities are saying the show is so good is because season 2 got better, and now they're watching it and they're like, dude, I love this show. I'm sure that's a lot of it, to be completely honest. But I kind of squint a little bit. Apple TV has this show that wins a bunch of awards that they're like, the people who watch it seem to enjoy. Why aren't we reaching that bigger audience? And it's because they don't have social capital or social pull. To me, it sounds like a PR company went to a lot of people and said, how much to make a video about Severance? It's not political. It's not going to cause any problems. And I'm just sitting here being like, why is this guy on Twitter making a video about Severance? Here's a political guy. He's a political guy, and he's posting a video about Severance. Why? Now, if you tweeted, I love Severance, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I tweet stuff all the time. You know, I tweeted about how much I didn't like it. But if you tweet about it, I don't think much of that. But when I see people who are really hamming this up, and I'm like, you're joking, right? Dude, everyone that I've shown Severance to and asked them about, they're like, I hate it. And I'm like, why are there were personalities, like Jeremy Hamilton from the corner was like, Tim, it's good, you don't understand. And that's fine, he can like it, I don't know. But I have friends and I'm like, here, let's watch. And they're like, I can't do it. What is this? It's so boring and slow and nothing's happening. Who are the characters? What's the company? What's the plot? What am I supposed to be watching? There's nothing that's explaining anything to me. I'm not getting a story out of this. It's literally a white room where people waste time all day. Oh, dude, like in the first season when Helly is being told to read the apology, the lady just threatened to cut off her hand. Or was that before or after? I think that was before. I don't know. Anyway, the lady's tries to kill herself and all these things, yet she sits there and reads a script. Like, dude, the writing, I think, is terrible. Well, Ben Stiller had some choice words for me. Actually, just an emoji. So I tweeted, I wonder why so many people started posting about how good it's not Severance is. I got 1,000 responses. I got 671,000 views on my post. And Ben Stiller posted a nerd emoji, to which I responded, Tropic Thunder is one of the greatest films ever made. Thank you, sir. Here's my point. We're in an era where we had this big story over the weekend where a bunch of prominent right-wing personalities were all posting the exact same garbage about allowing welfare recipients to buy soda. And they were like, Trump likes Diet Coke. If you're on welfare, you should be allowed to have soda. And I was just sitting there being like, what? Bro, if I was Supreme Chancellor of the Earth, I would throw all of soda into the sun. I'm kidding. It's fine if you want to buy with your own money. But if I was running government, I'd be like, bro, I ain't giving you EBT benefits out of my wallet so you can go buy soda. If homeboy comes to me and he says, I am hungry, sir, would you give me food? I'll be like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to buy you a chicken club sandwich and I'll get you a thing of water. And if they're like, no, I want a fudge popsicle and a Coke, I'd be like, ain't happening, bro. I'm going to give you something that helps you. I'm not here to give you some junk food garbage. My point is, all of these people were getting paid. They were getting paid to use the same talking points, and the reports are up to $1,000 per post to say welfare recipients should be allowed to buy soda, meaning our tax dollars ripped from our pockets against our will should be given to poor people who can buy garbage that kills them so big beverage corporations can make profits. Get out of here, dude. So I say this. I kind of wonder when a show that's kind of meh, all of a sudden has so many people cheering for it. And I'm like, I'm trying to watch it. And I'm like, dude, Yellowstone, people asked me to watch it. I did. I was like, this show's amazing. 1883, or was it, I think 1893 or whatever. I don't know. 1883. It's just their years. 1923. These shows are incredible. I was like, Taylor Sheridan, man, this guy can't get it wrong. Tulsa King, so good. I love those shows. And then there's a bunch of other anthology shows. I like some goofy, low-budget ones too, but Severance just ain't it. But all of a sudden, everyone's cheering for it. I think some of these dudes are getting paid. That's just me. But, it's whatever. I can only tell you this, my friends. Severance is a failed show. You want to cry about it, you want to complain about it, by all means, go ahead and complain about it. But I'm going to put it this way. Apple is losing $1 billion a year on their supposedly hit shows. That's not reality. Listen, could I, Tim Pool, do a show that loses money? No. Now, you can invest and hope it turns around. But when you have the acclaims, the accolades, and you're like, this is the best show ever, and people won't buy it, you got yourselves a problem. And it looks like right now their argument internally is, we have a marketing problem. Why can't we reach the water cooler with this show? Well, perhaps it's because the show isn't good enough. It's good enough for many people. There's a show called The Order on Netflix. Got 2 seasons. I actually really liked it. It's about werewolves and witches or something. I don't know. But the bad guy was a communist college professor. I thought that was funny. So I was entertained by it. I watched it. And, maybe I like goofy shows or whatever, but I like the normal ones. But that one got canceled. And a lot of people are saying, Tim, that show is stupid. Why would you watch that garbage? I don't know. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of shows that I like that get canceled. Family Guy got canceled a lot. Futurama did too. That's besides the point. Sometimes shows just aren't good enough. The Gifted, I just binged The Gifted on Disney. Just watched every episode. It's about mutants and the government's hunting them down and superpowers. I like those kinds of shows, but don't get me wrong. Yellowstone was probably my favorite show until they ruined the last season. I won't watch it. Yellowstone is my preferred show of choice. 1923. These shows are. Tulsa King is so good, dude. I don't want to spoil Tulsa King. Awesome show. Severance, don't got it. Never watched Lost. I watched From. From is Lost. The same thing. Nonsense, random garbage, meant to leave you wondering, but never get resolutions, and nothing ever makes sense, and there's no real story. Severance has no story. It's a premise with no story. Unless you count a guy finding out that he's gay and making out with another old guy, the story. So I'll give you the quick gist of Severance. Guy's wife dies, so he decides to take a job where you are severed and your work personality becomes distinct from your personal life personality and the memories don't interact. The work personalities have no memory or knowledge of the outside world and just do a job that is nondescript and makes no sense. One woman who comes in becomes suicidal and tries to maim and harm herself. And then only at the very end do you get any minor plot development. Seriously, 8 episodes. And it's mystery box, what's going on, things that don't make sense and never get resolved. And I'm just like, bro, homeboy bit another guy and made him bleed. Never get a resolution to it. Lady tried to hang herself. Never get any resolution to it. They do mention it briefly, but I'm like, yo, these are major plot developments. So one thing that really, really bothered me in the first season, makes it hard to watch, when Helly hangs herself in the elevator, and then her personal life self wakes up in the elevator dying, you'd think they would at that point start to give us some plot development. Nope. So anyway, I digress. There's my Severance rant. I'll leave it there. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back for Timcast IRL tonight at 8 p.m. Tell me why I'm wrong and why it's the greatest show, and I will simply respond with, it's fine if you like it. I'm not saying you're not allowed to like it. That's why I'm just telling you why I don't. And they can't make money off it. So shows like this get canceled for that reason. I'm sorry if you like the show. Shows I like get canceled too. But if they can't make money, how are you going to claim it's a good show? See you later, everybody.